Hey guys and girls, Poketin King here back with another Flesh and Blood video. It has been a little while. So today we're going to be talking a little bit about the market, as we like to do on here. So the first card I'm really going to touch on is the Fiendel Spring Tunic. It's a card that we've talked about a lot on the channel, and it's going to be a card that is going to be talked about, honestly, for the duration of Flesh and Blood's lifespan, whether it be a couple of years, 5, 10, 20 years. So we know with Bright Lights that there's going to be this new slot, and obviously from what we've seen so far, what they mentioned anyway is cards like Fiendel Spring Tunic can be in this slot, and people have taken that essentially as it's going to be in that slot, right? So this is going to be a new reprint of Fiendel Spring Tunic. That seems to be what I've seen people talking about, and the price of these cards seems to be able to reflect that. So the non-foil has actually dropped quite a bit now. I think the last sold I saw for a non-foil Crucible of War Unlimited one was around £150, which is a lot less than what it was selling for. It was around 180, 190. I've seen sales for the WTR foil that went all the way up to sort of 280, 290, and it seems to have retraced now to about 240, 250. So I think as we get closer to Bright Lights, people are going to start trying to sell these cards. The first three Fabled as well, they've seemed to have a little bit of a retrace now. They've dropped quite a bit. I'm seeing Hearts sell for around 300 to 350. The same really with the Eye and the Art Knight Shards a little bit more just because there was less printed. But the Heart seems to be the cheapest out of the three right now. So it's a mixture of, like, generally the market, it's been summer, right? The market's dropped a little bit. We had Dust Till Dawn come out, and there was, a lot of hype around some of the cards then. And then a lot of the cards from that set has had a massive crash. Warmonger's Diplomacy seems to have kept its price, but that is obviously because it's such a playable card. So that's kept its price really well. I think that's still around 40 to 45 euros for the non-foil version. Surgical Extractions dropped down to around 7 to 8 euros now. That dropped down quite a bit. And I think a lot of the Angels have dropped. A lot of the legendaries have come down a lot as well, like the extended art ones, the Diasic Carapace, and the other one, I can't remember what the name of it is. The Rapture one, the Inferno Rapture, they're both cold foil extended arts. They've dropped down now. So I've seen prices seem to kind of stabilise a little bit on a lot of the market. A lot of people were selling. I'm seeing a lot of the gold foils come up recently. Obviously, we had a lot of national events, so a lot of them went into circulation now. A lot of those are being purchased, a lot of those being sold. The same as the Judge packs. There is generally a lot of movement actually in the market, but it seems to be that generally most of the market has had a big of a retrace. Alpha boxes as well. Crucible of First Edition, I saw a box sell for £430. Which is, quite cheap considering they were around 500. They did sort of go over up to around 1,000 at one point in their peak. Obviously, Alpha boxes had a retrace now. So it's quite interesting to see. As I said at the start of summer, we're going to see this happen. It happens all the time. Cards like the Fiendel Spring Tunic, I think that also has to do with the fact that obviously Bright Lights, people are a little bit worried about picking up some of these more high rarity cards. The non-foil versions. I've had people actually say to me that they're holding off on buying some of these cards, like Command and Conquer as well, just in case it gets a reprint. I don't know if Command and Conquer will get a reprint, honestly. I mean, I know we had the Fabled version. We don't know, honestly. This new slot generally could literally reprint anything, right? If it's going to act as kind of the list in Magic the Gathering, and every set we're going to have like maybe a certain amount of cards that are going to be reprinted. Now, Flesh and Blood doesn't have that many sets, so if it's going to do it every set, even if they do 10 cards a set, right, it's going to drop a lot of prices on a lot of cards. The non-foil versions, obviously. We look at the Crown, the non-foil Crown, that is like, it's quite cheap considering. Obviously, it's still expensive. I think it's around £80 still. But the cold foil price didn't seem to be affected that much, honestly. We're still seeing some prices of some of the more expensive cold foils go up. But, I think people are a little bit wary now about buying these cards because, again, nobody wants to be stung, right? If they reprint it in this slot, we don't know how hard or easy it's going to be to get any of these cards. It's very vague. We don't really have much. And that is going to cause a lot of tension, a lot of speculation within the market. and that seems to be what it's doing right now. I've been buying and selling collections, and I've seen prices of cards drop, and I've seen cards just sit on the market, honestly. There's some specific cards that I've actually listed 10% lower on Cardmarket than anything on there. I check prices regularly, it's still on there, and they're not selling. They're the kind of cards that people, I think, are like, right, let me see what this slot is about. Now, the opposite could also happen as well. If these cards aren't in these slots, the prices could go back up again. So if Fiendel Spring Tunic isn't in the slot, or actually it is in the slot, but it's a lot harder to pull, we could see these Crucible of War copies going up a little bit more. I know the white borders has dropped massively. I managed to pick up a white border copy for around £120 recently, which was, you know, quite a reasonable price. I picked up a Crucible of War first edition copy as well for a really good price. So I think now is a really good time to be buying these kind of cards. I need to get a submission ready to go to PCG or Worlds. I held off doing BGS submissions, honestly. I haven't had a submission now come back since the last one I sent was in February, and it came back, I want to say, around May time, I think. I haven't sent another BGS submission. PSA I kept sending. BGS I kind of just held off a little bit. There were some things that I didn't like about BGS, honestly, and I kind of wanted just to wait. And with Worlds coming up, obviously using PCG as a perfect example, a lot of these cards are for my personal collection. I do believe that PCG will do well long term, maybe not as well as BGS. Again, this is a topic that I've talked about in videos before, and a lot of other people are BGS versus PCG. Which one do you go with? Alternatively, you have PSA as well. I've seen people grade Flesh and Blood CGC as well, and other grading companies. Honestly, it's entirely up to you what you want to do. If you want the most amount of value currently, you're going to go with BGS probably, or PSA. I've seen some PSA 10 copies of, Flesh and Blood cards go for the same price as BGS 9.5s, which generally has always been, a very similar in terms of prices for a lot of games. Obviously, BGS 10 is going to outstrip PSA 10 pretty much every day, but we don't really ever see BGS 10s for Flesh and Blood. 9.5 generally is the best that you're going to get on average. Even getting 9s is good with most of it, honestly, especially some of those older cold foils. So it'll be interesting to see kind of what happens after Bright Lights comes out. We've obviously got Worlds in November. I'm interested to see what the market looks like in December, going into the start of next year. Obviously, we had a lot of movement from February to around May time. That was a really big boom. Everything went up. The amount of copies of certain stuff selling, alpha boxes, I remember seeing 30 sell in 30 days. It seemed almost every day there was an alpha box going up, and every single sale one went for more than the other. Now we got up to around 5,500, I believe, and we've had a big retrace down to around 3,500 now. And honestly, you could probably, if the market stays the way it is now, you could probably pick up a box actually in person at Worlds, probably for less than that, honestly. If you can arrange a deal. I'm still debating getting an Arcane Rising box. I don't have a first edition box yet. It's the only box that I don't have. I've been debating. I know there are some in the UK that I can pick up. It seems to be a lot easier now. People have got multiple boxes and they want to make a little bit of profit on them. So it's something that I've been toying up, honestly, but I definitely will be doing a submission at Worlds for sure. I'm just interested to see how the market... Obviously, I've been selling a lot of singles. That's predominantly what I've been doing now over the last couple of months. So I'm seeing these prices, the lack of movement on cards, and the price rises and price drops. And generally it seems to be drops on most things, honestly. I don't really see very much going up. There are certain cards that have held their value. New Horizons in cold foil, that seems to do really well. Phantasmal Footsteps, Carrion Husk might be one of the only cards that has gone up in recent times. I know that Bolton did well recently. I heard someone topped with Bolton. I'm not sure where that was, but I'm interested to see what happens with that. I have a cold foil BGS 9 Bolton, so I'm interested to see personally, and obviously as a whole, to see kind of where things go, because small things happen and it builds up traction, and that's kind of how the markets move, right? If you've been in the game long enough, you only have to have a couple of people start talking about a card. you know, obviously there has to be some truth to it, right? You know, if people are specking on a card and they think, do you know what, this could actually be really playable, or this is a lot rarer. You know, we've gone through phases over the years. Generally, most cards retrace. So if you feel like there's a card going up and you're panicking, don't buy. Just leave it. Keep an eye on it. See what happens. For the most part, they retrace. All the Fables, they brought back down again, honestly. You're not going to get hearts for, you know, 150 quid again. I can't see that happening. But they have had a massive retrace from the 500 to 600 they were at. So it's a good time to be buying. I've been buying throughout the summer now. It's towards the end of summer now as of filming this. We're in September now. So I'm going to be kind of just kind of watching to see what happens. There's a couple of cards that I've purchased personally to track prices. As an experiment, and you know, if the data is what I think it is, then I'll share that in due course. It's really mostly, honestly, for the UK and European market. The US market is just completely different. For the most part, honestly, if you're a Flesh and Blood collector or investor, or even player in America, you're quite lucky actually, because not only is you got a bigger player base and you've got more competition to get cards right, but there's also most of the market is saturated. Dusk Till Dawn, for instance, cases of Dusk Till Dawn, you can get a distro price in America. I've seen multiple cases sell for those, but over here in the UK, stores will not sell below retail. When I mean by retail is they won't drop. They'll have a price up when the release comes. They won't ever drop it, and it takes like 2 years. And I'm only starting to see Everfest now being sold for less than retail. And then when it does, of course, it gets bought up. A lot of stores are stuck with a lot of stock. The stores that are still trying to sell Everfest at $84.99 a box, RIP to you, because they ain't going to work. It might do if you can hold that amount of stock and you're not worried about that cash flow and capital, then obviously if that works for you, that works for you. But I know a lot of stores in the UK now are starting to drop sets like Everfest. It's again one of the sets that a lot of people, they went heavily into, and that was the last set. That was the catalyst for them. And they're like, right, I ain't touching Flesh and Blood again, because they got stuck with all this stock. Instead of going, right, that's, you know, maybe, you know, drop the boxes a little bit or do a loyalty scheme, or had some ideas as to how to shift the product. They kept them on their shelves for $84.99. Obviously, we had a lot of interest leave Flesh and Blood. And the average player isn't picking up an Everfest box a week, let's be honest here. And this is the big issue we had with History Pack 1, where, you know, the price was a little bit more on release. Obviously, you get more packs. The value for your money, I think, is really good with History Pack, but to pay £105 to £110 a box on release is quite a lot, let's be honest, if you're not going to go halves with a friend. But anyway, there's a little bit about kind of what I've been noticing, the Flesh and Blood market. I honestly hope to do another video in the next week or so. I don't want to leave it another 2 weeks before making videos, because I do enjoy the process of making content. Again, I've just been really busy. I had a week off spending time with family, which was much needed. It was a little bit weird just generally not working, honestly. I did close down the Cardmarket and the website and the eBay stores and that for like 5 days. And then I started it again and the sales came in. A little bit of update on that. I've got One Piece OP05, the Japanese new set. I've got Wilds of Eldraine, Magic the Gathering, the new set. I've also got a couple of boxes of Modern Horizons 2 collector boxes. So I'll have packs of all of those sets on the Whatnot and the website as well. One Piece is already on the website. I think we've got a couple more boxes left. That should be landing with me over the next couple of days. We will have pre-orders probably for Bright Lights soon. I'm not going to go as heavily into Bright Lights as Dusk Till Dawn. We did 17 cases of Dusk Till Dawn. Not because I don't think I can sell it, just because sourcing product right now, if you're not a brick and mortar, you obviously can't buy from distro. So right now I'm trying to source product and I'm only getting like a case here and there, and I just kind of, I don't want to commit to too much, honestly. Right now the singles are selling really well for me, buying the collections and selling those. And I've diversified generally my business model. So Whatnot streams do really well. I'm going to start doing YouTube lives as well. So for any of you that actually is still watching this video, I'm going to be doing YouTube lives as well, so you can buy through the website rather than paying the fees on Whatnot. And if you are international, then we can do an actual good price on international shipping. Whatnot's international shipping is ridiculous. If you've actually seen that, and then they take 12% fees and that. So we'll be doing YouTube lives at some point, hopefully for bright lights. People can pick up some packs, some boxes. And what I'm planning to do as well with that kind of thing is I can leave it till the end of the month, then ship together. And I can do like a flat rate for shipping for international, for instance. For most of Europe, I can do economy shipping, and it's below £10, honestly. Even the US, I think I can do economy shipping for like £12 or like $13, $14 or whatever. So I want to try to keep the cost low for international. But thank you all for watching. If you've got any ideas for content you want me to do, please drop a comment below. I'm going to try to do a collection video soon. So I'll be showing what I've got behind here, as well as some of the more higher valued singles that I've got in my binders, some stuff that I've got in my grading pile. I'm not going to be able to show all my sealed because it's mostly in storage, and I don't drive and I can't get there right now. But maybe that's going to be a future video. But I am planning a collection video and kind of a little bit more different content. Thank you all for watching. Please comment, like, subscribe as always, and have a great day.